If you like these videos, please check out my full course at www.lsat.totaltestprep.net with tons of clearly explained actual LSAT questions written by someone who's mastered test and helped others master it, and an evaluation period where you only pay if you want to continue.
Alright, so in this video we're going to go over the strengthened questions. So what is the strengthened questions? So what do the strengthened questions ask for? What does it mean to strengthen an argument? How do these questions appear in the test? And how do we approach these questions? Alright, so in terms of basic information, the strengthened questions ask you for the answer choice which gives you a reason to accept the author's conclusion. So you're looking for a reason to accept the author's conclusion. The law deals with arguments, and in order to have the judge or the jury accept your arguments, you have to provide reasons that make your conclusions likely. Okay, so these questions, the strengthened questions, are always going to deal with arguments because you can't strengthen an argument unless one is present. So you're always going to deal with arguments. And the question will generally deal with one speaker, although you might have multiple speakers. And if there are multiple speakers or multiple arguments, then the question will tell you where to focus. And the answer choices will be additional information which you can take to be true. So you can assume it's true, but you're looking to see, does this strengthen? Okay, so that's that in terms of the basic information. In terms of the basic approach, you need to have a clear understanding of the argument, and you need to be able to identify the relevant choice. So the most important thing is to identify the conclusion and premises, which generally won't be the difficult aspect of these questions. You'll primarily just be looking for premise and conclusion indicators, although more difficult variations will have a complex structure where the author responds to another perspective. And then you also need to evaluate the relationships to get an idea of the basic structure of the argument. So different argument types will generally have different ways of being strengthened, although not strictly. But you do want to be a little sensitive to the relationships the different relationships you'll encounter in these arguments. And then you need to go through the answer choices, looking for the one which gives you a reason to accept the conclusion. Essentially, the correct choice will make the conclusion more likely. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll provide new information, because that can be done in a variety of ways to make the conclusion more likely. In addition to providing new independent support, the correct choice may just make the connection between the premises and the conclusions more likely, or just might even make a premise more likely. And then the incorrect choice will either make the conclusion less likely, or it might just be irrelevant. So it may give you actually a reason to reject the conclusion. In that sense, it makes the conclusion less likely. And if it's irrelevant, it provides information that actually doesn't influence the truth of the conclusion in any way. It's simply information that doesn't connect. So these can actually be made to be tricky by introducing information which may seem like it makes the conclusion more likely, but you need to be aware of any assumptions that you're making. So essentially, is your interpretation valid of the answer choice, or is an opposite interpretation equally valid? So this is going to rest on that information which is new but not relevant, and which can be interpreted in different ways. So this is all stuff we'll go into a lot more detail in when we go through the questions, when we go through actual questions and answer choices.